Good morning, all of you. Today, following the yesterday report, the presentation of abduction in Turkey by Johan Heymans, we will have three witnesses. The first one is Mr. Mustafa Özben, so I call you to give us your testimony, sir.
Hello, President. Hello, members, dear participants. I would first of all like to welcome you here all today. Thank you for being here. So I lived through what I will tell you about this morning personally. I will tell you about what happened to me 4 years ago. And I would first of all like to tell you how I was 4 years ago. And to explain that, I would like to show you a short video. Thank you. My name is Mustafa Özben. I was born in 1975 in Istanbul. I was taking my daughter to school on the 9th of May 2017. And at around 13 hours, I was abducted in Şentepe Yeni Mahalle, right after having taken 300 lira from the ATM over there. I also went to buy some bags. And then I went towards my car, my Honda, and right at that moment, around 3 or 4 people suddenly surrounded me. They beat me, they pulled me about, and they took me into a black transporter. I believe it was a black transporter van. They threw me inside. They put a sack over my head once I was in the car. Again, they beat me with their fists. They insulted me. They screamed at me. And then they put plastic cuffs around my ankles and my hands. So this is a video that was taken of me exactly 92 days after I had been abducted on 9th of May 2017. So why did I take this video? I will tell you why at the end of my statement. As I said at the beginning of this video, my name is Mustafa Özben. I was born in August in 1975 in Istanbul. After having finished my studies of law in Ankara, I started to work as a lawyer for the Bar of Ankara. And until the failed coup attempt, I was working as a teacher at the Turgut Özal University. On the 9th of May 2017, as I said in the video, I took my daughter to school. And then I used a credit card which belongs to my father because the situation in Turkey was very tense, and I was partially hiding. There was as yet no formal investigation or formal research for me, but I thought that maybe I was in danger because everyone around me was being sought after, it was in danger. And I have been in the Gülen movement since 1993. And so I believed that I could also be a target, so I was also in hiding. I had taken certain measures to hide, to be careful, and that's why I was using my father's credit card to take money out of the ATM. And then I went and bought a few things from some shops. And there's something very important that I have to say about what I bought from one of these shops, but I'll keep that for the end of my statement. So after I made my purchase, I went towards my car, which I had parked very nearby. I suppose they had already been following me. I don't know how many people with how many cars they'd been following me, but I'm sure that they knew where I'd parked. They knew which itinerary I'd be following. So after I'd taken just the 10 steps, a plump person came in front of me, dressed all in black. He stopped in front of me and he started insulting me. I didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden 2 other people came from behind. All this took only 5 seconds, perhaps. And then a transporter van came towards us. It was black or dark color. And I was thrown inside the van. The door was closed upon me, and then the van went away. Of course, a sack was put over my face, so I couldn't be a witness to anything, so I couldn't see anything. I continued to struggle once inside the van with the hope that I could maybe just run away. It's a reflex, of course, but maybe after 3 or 5 minutes, I understood that I couldn't do anything. They put these cuffs over my ankles and my wrists. As I said, they put a sack over my head. And then I heard them talking amongst each other. Where should we take him, to 34 or to 06? So I understood from that there are different places they take the people they kidnap. They said, okay, let's take him to 34. I don't know what 34 means or 06 means, but this is a jargon, a language that they know about. They called the chauffeur, the driver, Haydar, the name Haydar. So the van wasn't speeding, it was just going at a normal speed. Approximately 30 minutes afterwards, well, I've lived in Ankara for a long time, so I know the city very well. I could imagine where they took me. So the car is going downhill and then turning left, and then we're going straight. I was trying to guess where we were going. It's only a guess. Approximately 30 minutes later, but this is all approximate, of course. It could be 25 minutes, 35 minutes. But biologically, I'm guessing that it was 30 minutes later. We came at an end of the road, and then we went up a hill, and then the car stopped. They opened the door. And there was a delegation, a group of people waiting for us outside. That's what I'm guessing. Of course, I have a sack over my head. I can't see anything. So they were ordered to take me down the van. They stripped me of all my clothes. They made me wear a sort of pajama, which they brought. At that moment, they cut off the cuffs that they put on my ankles and my wrists, but this time they put metallic handcuffs on my wrists. And then I'm going to try to tell you what I saw. We came to a kind of a huge warehouse. I mean, I'll tell you why I thought it was a warehouse later on. So I was put into this building in a small cell. I was thrown into a small cell. Let me try to describe you this cell. The cell, I tried to calculate how big it was. Putting my bare feet, one behind the other, it was 6 to 9. It was a length of 6 to 9 feet. So I believe it was a cell of 3 meter squares. And the height was around 2.5 meters. There was a very hard mattress kind of thing. And then there was a place where they could put my handcuffs, where they could link my hands to. And the walls, to avoid my killing myself, I suppose, I'm not sure. But of course, this is more up to experts to know about. It's more in their field of expertise. I'm just telling you about my guesses. I suppose it was either so I wouldn't kill myself, or else so as to isolate this from sound. They'd put this kind of materials, like this kind of carpet, all around the walls. So it was all soft. It was a tiny place, as I said. In the corner, there was a camera, so they could continuously watch inside. And there was also a sound system, so they could give me orders or establish contact with me inside. And perhaps And there was also a projector, a light. The cell is dark, but just to provide some light so the camera could see inside, they placed a special kind of lighting. That way they could see at all times what I was doing inside the cell. There was also an aeration system, which made a quite horrible sound. And this is another type of torture, according to me. For 24 hours, there's this woo sound coming from the aeration system. And the sound was really another type of torture for me. So, dear President, dear members, the first order I received was this. I was placed inside this cell which I've just described, and then they started to give me orders about what would happen next. When someone comes in, they knock on the door. I'm telling you this in a very improvised way. I hope you won't think that it's disrespectful. So they knock on the door, in a very powerful way. So you understand that someone's going to come inside. What I have to do is put myself on my knees. I have to kneel and get in this certain position. And then the door opens, they come from behind and take me outside to be interrogated. I'm telling you about my first moments there, my first days. So they gave me this order. They say, you're going to kneel, you're going to bow your head, you're not going to lift your head, you're not going to look around. They call each other brothers. There were different types of personnel. First of all, the people who just brought in things, who took me to the toilet, who brought me food, who took me off to be tortured and so on. So there are lower level personnel. And then there are the leaders, the authorities. And these people are feared. They give the orders. And you're never supposed to go outside of their orders. And they're called the big brothers. Okay, they say the big brother is going to come and see you. Of course, at the beginning, I was like, what is this? Is this a joke? Just 30 minutes before, I was telling my wife, I'm just going to take our daughter to school. I'm going to take some money. I'll buy a few things. And I'll be back home in around 35 minutes. But this lasted for 92 days. Yes, so they knock on the door. I was taken outside. I'm taken off to interrogation. So, to start with, they said Mustafa. So I'm going to describe the place again. So they turned my face against the wall. Because if accidentally my blindfold were to open or the blindfold were to fall, if I were to see anyone by accident, they're always panicking, they're always afraid. If you give me more time, I'll tell you more about this later on. It was extremely important for them not to be seen. So, they say, Mustafa, where are you now? They ask me. To start with, spontaneously, I just said, I suppose I'm at the meet at the National Security Agency. Of course, I didn't say this comfortably. I was shaking with fear. I had no idea what was happening to me. How do you know that you're at meet? Maybe you're at the police station. Maybe you're at the gendarmerie. So they're trying to ruin my concentration. They're trying to ruin all my certainties. You can't know anything. Well, actually, I don't really care who's torturing me. And later on, they say, Mustafa, this is a place that neither exists nor doesn't exist. This is what they told me. And I'm not going to add any of my own comments or interpretation. This is what they said. They said, this is a place that neither exists nor doesn't exist. Here we are the state. Now the state is being run differently. If you help us, we'll forget about all the complaints made against you. We'll erase them all. We'll send a note to the prosecutor, and we'll resolve all the problems you may have. We'll give you a new identity. We'll give you as much money as you like. We'll give you all the opportunities you need. But if you don't help us, we know human anatomy very well. This is exactly what they said. We know human anatomy very well. You may start to beg us that we'll kill you. They know all about torture, about how the human body can resist torture until where they can go. And they told me about all of this as if it were a great skill to be proud of. They kept telling me they know very well how the human anatomy works. They know how torture works. The first moments I was there, they tried to affect me with all of these words. But I knew I hadn't committed any crimes. I told them I hadn't committed any crimes. I told them I didn't know anything. I told them all the classical things that anyone in that situation would say. I said, "What can I do for you? There's nothing I can do for you. I'm just a normal lawyer, a normal teacher. Yes, I'm a member of the Gülen movement, but I don't know anything." They asked me a question. "Who did you call on the day of the coup? Which general did you call? Who can I call? Which kind of general could I call? Why would I call a general? I was at home on the day of the coup." It's really funny, the questions they asked me. So openly, I'm sorry, but if these people were members of the intelligence agency, I would never have hired them. I would never have given them any jobs. They were really unskilled. From the way these questions were asked, I understood that they knew just a few things about me, but most of it had just been fabricated. I was supposed to understand what they wanted from me, and I said, "Okay, if you want my help, then take me to a police station, but other than that, there's nothing I can tell you." So for a few days, that's what I told them. I told them, "I don't know, I have no idea. I don't know, I have no idea." But they said, "Mustafa, be careful. This is going to change. It's not going to stay this way. We're going to start torture you worse and worse." But the first days, they were trying to be nice to me. They were like, "Okay, let's do this on a friendly basis. Just tell us the story, just tell us." But what can I tell them? You know, there's nothing I can tell them. But what they're really asking me to do is this. So they've invented a terrorist organization. They've made everyone a terrorist. Okay, there's a crime, there's a criminal, but now we need facts to put inside this file. We need people who will confess to their crimes. We need some people who are going to confess, who are going to give us true or false information. So they're trying to learn things from me. They're trying to make me forced to give them some news. So what they want is for me to confess, for me to give them some information, for me to give them some names, for me to work for the state. So, as I said, I was there for 92 days. I could tell you all about it, but we don't have that much time. So I'll try to tell you in very short. So they made files about the Gülen movement, different files in different colors, which have photos inside. Okay, let's say this is a file. When I open this, they take my blindfold off so I can look at this file. And of course, they're hiding behind me. So I open the file. There are a few photos here. And on the photo, there's a number 1. Who is this? So as I was turning the pages, I saw that there was a photo, and behind the photo, there was already a name. And there's a second photo, and again, there is a name. So actually, they know who all these people are already. These photos, dear judges, were taken from inside a car while they were following someone. And the person they were following was walking or sitting on a cafe terrace. or else they were photos taken from CCTV. Or for example, this person is at a passport control point, and you know, there's CCTV there as well. And these photos had been taken from that CCTV. So these photographs were not taken at a wedding or anything. So the interrogators, I believe, were for sure working for the state. During the interrogation, I was in a certain building, as I said. Each time I was taken out of my cell, there was a certain procedure to be followed. I had to kneel. They put a blindfold over me, and then they put a sack over my head, just in case I could see something through the blindfold. And then, once I'm taken out of the cell, I'm just trying to describe where I was taken. Let's say where you're sitting right now is the warehouse door, and right across from it there are different cells, one next to the other. And across from the cells there are two other cells. At the end of the corridor, there are the interrogation rooms, and then the toilets and the bathroom. So, but you're going to ask me, I'm taken outside with a blindfold and a sack over my head. How could I know all this? Perhaps it was the 14th or 23rd day, I can't remember. But one day, they knocked on my cell door. Again, I took the position. They said, "Come out." But of course, I hadn't been blindfolded yet. I was afraid. They haven't blindfolded me. They're taking me outside. Maybe this is the end of the road. They're probably going to execute me today. And that's why they don't feel the need to hide their faces. And so, of course, I was terrified. I was shaking with fear. They said, no, come on, don't be afraid. We have masks on. Come out. So this time they had snow masks on. There were two people. It was the middle of the night. They took me to the bathroom so I could bathe. There was water. Oh, as I said, it was always the peoples in leadership position who allowed me to eat, who allowed me to bathe, who allowed me to drink. I could never ask for any of this on my own. So the moment they took me out of my cell, of course I looked around. When I went to the bathroom, and then as I was coming back, I tried to understand what kind of a place I was in. I looked at the floors, I looked at the cells one next to another, I looked at the interrogation rooms, I looked at how high the ceilings were. So above the cells, I could continuously hear people walking. There were people on guard for 24 hours. At 8 o'clock, the guards would change. How did I know it was 8 o'clock? Well, again, it's my biological clock that told me it was around 8 o'clock in the morning. That's when the new team would come in. At around 10 o'clock in the morning, so 2 hours after the guards changed, a glass of tea, a slice of bread, a small piece of white cheese, and a few olives. And sometimes a few olives would be missing, and I think the damn guard ate one of my olives. Well, I lost 20 kilos there. I weighed 80 kilos, but when I got out of there, I weighed only 60 kilos. I was hungry and thirsty most of the time. They were trying to break my resistance. Maybe they were hoping that I'd say, okay, I'll do anything you want. I'll say anything you like. I'm just so hungry and thirsty. So I think that there were around 3 interrogation rooms where I was taken. One was totally white, another was painted all in black. In the white interrogation room, again, sometimes in that room they would show me files with photos inside, so they would, of course, take my blindfold off for this. And of course, I was always trying to see as much as I could see. How will I be able to describe all this when I get out of here? what will I be able to do about all of this later on? How can I testify about all I've been living here? So each time I had an opportunity, I would just look around. Of course, I was trying to do this discreetly. So I would very discreetly try to see as much as I could see. And of course, they weren't always focused on me. For example, when they took me out to bathe, they didn't follow protocol. I'm sure later on they were punished for having taken me out at my cell without being blindfolded, so I could see everything. So one of the interrogation rooms there was a high table, just as like the one where I'm at right now. Behind there was a painting of Atatürk, and there was a Turkish flag next to it. So we could have thought that we were in a courtroom, actually. Maybe the people who were interrogating me used to sit there before. It was a very official type of place. So in that interrogation room, on the wall, there were two cuffs where they could handcuff people on the wall. I saw sticks, I saw blood. So it's very difficult to tell you about all this, but I think that I owe it to you all. I owe it to everyone to tell about the torture methods that were used there.
I'm afraid I have to ask you to go to the end.
Yes. So they used electroshocks. They used electricity. That was just normal everywhere. They just used electricity all over my body. Just beating, normal beating. There was a sex instrument. So they put something in my hand while I was blindfolded. They asked me what it was. And I touched it and I understood that it was a sex instrument. So they put me on the floor. They made me kneel and they said, "We're going to put you inside. We're going to penetrate you with this. You're going to see. So tell us now." So they tried everything that could break me. They threatened me using my family. "Now, we're going to bring your family here. Your children are going to watch you from behind the window. You'll see then." Of course, I told you about thirst and hunger. They broke this tooth of mine while they were using their fists on my face. That's just normal. And I didn't want to lose my memory. I didn't want to go crazy. So I took a piece of a napkin. I took something as small as this. I hid it away. And I said, "Okay, this is Monday, this is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday." For every day, I changed the place of this small object just so I could follow the passing of time. Because there are no windows, there's no clock, there's no information. I don't know if it's day or if it's night. So according to my calendar, exactly a year after the coup attempt, on the 15th of July, 2017, 24 hours, for 24 hours, I heard all these national songs, the national hymn. For 24 hours, they made me listen to these. And that music was another type of torture. They put earphones over my head. And other types of sounds, parasites, different types of noise that could drive me crazy. Of course, the more they tortured me, the more I resisted. I said, I have to be strong. I have to resist. I shouldn't lose my mental health. I shouldn't lose my memory. They keep asking me, "For how many days have you been here, do you think?" I know how many days it's been. But if I tell them, then they're going to say, "How come you know that?" So I was lied to them. I wanted them to think that I was confused, that I was losing my mental health. So I was kidnapped on 9th of May, 2017. And I was released 92 later. At around 5 o'clock, I understood that I was going to be released. They bought in my shoes, my clothes. They're going to release me. But still, I'm not sure. Maybe they say they're going to release me, but actually they're going to execute me. I'm not sure, but they said they're going to release me. So they brought me back all my things. They brought me back my identity card, my belt, my pants, my money. When I was abducted on the 9th of May, it wasn't very warm, but in August it was very warm. So, but I still had my coat from the month of May. When they brought me here, it took 30 minutes to bring me in, but leaving me to release me, they drove for 4 hours. How is it possible? 30 minutes to come and 4 hours to leave. So, of course, I didn't say anything. For 4 hours, I'm sure they just made us turn around and round and round in the van. But I was able to guess where we were turning. Each time was the same thing. We would stop at a light, we would go down a hill, we would turn left. Each time was the same thing for 4 hours. And then they left me off in a certain neighborhood in Ankara. Thank you, dear judge, for this important question. Yes, it's something that I wasn't able to tell you about, so thank you very much. They did not bring my wife or children to where I was being kept. But it was just a threat to use to break my resistance. It was just a threat so I could become one of their agents. So, why did they release me? This is very important. They kept insulting my wife. They kept telling me that she was sleeping around, that she was doing things that she shouldn't be doing. They kept insulting her, insults that I wouldn't dare repeat here. They used words I could not repeat. And of course, I'm sure that my wife is outside looking for me. And I'm sure that my friends outside, that different NGOs are working to free me, A lawyer is kidnapped in the middle of Ankara, underneath CCTV, in the middle of the day, in front of hundreds of people, in front of hundreds of cameras. And for 92 days, I'm kept there. Is it possible that neither the prosecutor nor the police officer, nobody has an answer about what's happened to me? It takes a month or 2 months for a file to come in front of the prosecutor. The prosecutor probably told my wife that I had hidden away, that I'd just gone away, that I'd left her. So it seems that the police called my wife to the police station in the middle of the night. They tried to frighten her. They said, yes, your husband's gone. Your children will be left all alone. You'll be left all alone. And they told me all of this. They told me all this while they were interrogating me. So why did they release me? This is what I think. They never told me this in all words. They understood that they couldn't get any information out of me. They understood that they couldn't turn me into an agent as they wanted me to be. They understood I wouldn't confess. And my wife kept asking people about where I was. She was also working on the international level to find about my whereabouts. So for 92 days, of course, my hair grew. They're going to release me soon. They started to act more normally to me. They waited for all the marks of torture to disappear from my body. And they told me, Mustafa, we're going to release you soon. They left me on Tuesday, but they said, on Friday, you have to come to this place. We're going to talk with you again. And of course, they wondered whether I would come. Maybe they were just testing me. Would I do what they wanted me to do? So when I was released on Tuesday, the next day on Wednesday, I was supposed to buy a cell phone. And on Friday, I was supposed to go to where they indicated to me. They took a photo of the place where I was supposed to go, and they'd circle the trash can in this park where I was supposed to go. And I was supposed to write a report about what I'd lived through during those 92 days and put it in that trash can in that park. But none of this was normal. I'm here. Ask me questions, and I'll tell you. You're beating me already. You're torturing me already. So just ask me questions, and I'll tell you. What am I going to tell you on Friday? So here's what I thought. these people think that next day I'm going to go to get a shave, to get a haircut. And then the next day, when once I get home, the police are going to come to my home and they're going to say, oh, look at this. This man who you said had been kidnapped is just hiding at home. And so all these enforced disappearances, all these abductions are just going to be left kaduk. They're just going to be without effect. And everyone is going to believe that I'd been laughing, that I'd been lying. I think that this is what they were thinking. This is what they were aiming for. I'm sorry, these are very difficult subjects, and it's not very easy for me to speak. But first of all, after the decrees that were pronounced after the coup, of course, my university had been shut down. So I worked in the university only until the coup, and once it was closed, of course, well, I was unemployed. Yes, as I said, I was half in hiding. I wasn't staying at my own legal residence. I was staying somewhere else. Just for yes, I was in hiding. And at that moment, while I was in hiding, I was hearing about whether the police came to my official residence, about whether there were any arrests on my name, about whether I was looking for. But actually, I understood that nothing happened. No police came to my official residence. But I'm not for sure. It was not for sure what happened. Otherwise, were they looking for me in other ways? And while I was gone for those 92 days, my greatest worry was that, for example, I'd just taken my daughter to school at around 12 o'clock, and she was going to leave school in the evening. She's a student in the 4th grade, and I was supposed to pick her up. And my younger child, who's only 8 months old, my wife had it was difficult for her to go to my daughter's school. And so nobody knew what happened to me. I didn't know if my daughter was able to get home all right that evening. And of course, while I was being interrogated, they insulted my wife. They told me about how they could harm her. And each time I was wondering, did they harm her? Is my wife also arrested? Is my wife also under custody? Where are my children? My parents haven't heard anything of me for these past days. My parents are older, they're in their 80s. Maybe they're sick of worry. I don't know. And this fact of not knowing is also another part of the torture. That's what I can say in summary.
Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you. No, I didn't have such an opportunity in Turkey. Because the day I was released, the next day, I made the video I showed you at the beginning of this testimony, because if again I were to be abducted or arrested, I wouldn't have the chance of telling what happened to me. So, and then I wrote with my own handwriting in Turkish and in English everything that happened to me. I tried to explain it in video. So if I were to disappear, then at least my writing would be there, my video would be there. And then I went into hiding immediately because I did not want them to find me at my own home. I didn't want them to say that I had been lying, that I hadn't been abducted. So I sent my wife and my children off somewhere else because there were no arrest warrants or anything like that about my wife. So I sent them off somewhere else, and I went into hiding in Ankara. Later on, I went to another city, and I hid there. And on the 18th of September 2017, I left Turkey, illegally, of course. And this is the first and only crime that I've ever committed in my life. I illegally left my country.
Very important testimony today, and we understand, of course, that is very emotional for you. So thank you very much for the collaboration to the work of this tribunal, Mr. Osben.